Mena. Welcome back to my channel, or if this is the very first video that you're seeing of me, then welcome to my channel. Please be sure to hit that subscribe button down below if you didn't already. I post every day except for Tuesday and Friday afternoon sometimes. I'm sorry, I'm knitting and my blanket is going all over the place. But anyway, today in this video, I'm going to go over the top 10 things you should never do when staying in an Airbnb. So these are things that never should be done in an Airbnb, because you need to respect the Airbnb policy, including if you're staying in someone else's Airbnb that's connected to their home. It's just always good to be mindful, because if you're staying in an Airbnb that's owned by somebody, or if you're staying in an Airbnb connected to someone's home, you have to be mindful of what you're doing in there. You have to be considerate and respectful, because someone is letting you stay in a place that's connected to your home or stay in a place that they own. So you should always respect someone else's place that you're staying in. So I'm going to get started, and I hope you guys enjoy the video, and I hope you learn a little bit about Airbnb etiquette for when you're staying in an Airbnb.
Number 1.
So number 1 on my list would have to be leave a mess everywhere. So you never want to leave a mess everywhere in someone's Airbnb, because although that's your own personal place to stay for your vacation, you're still technically staying in someone else's place, like home, vacation home, or home. So it's good to be respectful of how they keep it clean. And if you make a mess, it's just important to clean up after yourself. Don't leave a mess for the host to clean up. It's just not fair. It's rude. It's disrespectful. So if you ever stay in an Airbnb and you make a mess, make sure you clean it up before you leave, and make sure you don't leave anything anywhere, like dishes in the sink, in case the Airbnb has a sink for dishes. And don't leave like your clothes everywhere. Don't leave food out. Just make sure you just clean up after yourself, because although people clean the Airbnb, it's just good for you to clean up after yourself, especially if you're old enough to know how to clean up after yourself.
Number 2.
Number 2 on my list would have to be loud. So you never want to be loud in an Airbnb, just because you may be staying in a place where you have neighbors that don't like a lot of noise, or you might be staying in an Airbnb that's in an apartment and there are people probably sleeping, people probably studying, or people probably working from home. So it's just never good to be loud, because you don't want to disturb the other people around you. Or if you're staying in a place that's at someone else's house, you just don't want to be loud and disturb people, just in case they're studying, doing homework, or watching TV. So just keep that in mind, that when you're staying in an Airbnb, just don't make so much noise or be super duper loud. I mean, it's okay for the host themselves to be loud in their own house, but you shouldn't be loud in someone else's house, because that's just kind of rude.
Number 3.
Number 3 on my list would have to be call the host super early or super late for something. I mean, it's okay if you're trying to get into your Airbnb and you can't get in. That's perfectly fine. But if you need something small, or need something if you need something small, it could probably wait. So you don't want to call this host super late at night or super early in the morning, because the host has to get ready for work for themselves for their job. And they have their own lives. They don't need to they don't have to do like everything for you. I mean, it's their job to make sure that you're comfortable, make sure to check if you need anything or have any questions about anything. It's good to ask the host about that stuff, but you just never want to call them super early in the morning just to talk, because the host has to get ready for their day as well.
Number 4.
Number 4 on my list would have to be complain. So you never want to complain about the place you're staying at when you're staying in an Airbnb, or complain about everything in the Airbnb. That's just really not okay, because you're going to bother the host, and the host works really, really hard to make you comfortable and everything. And it's good that they check on you. And if you have something that is bothering you, it's okay to tell the host, but you don't want to complain about every little thing to the host that bothers you, because sometimes the host can't always fix the little things. So just keep that in mind, that when you're staying in an Airbnb, it's just never good to complain. It's good to be grateful that you're staying in an Airbnb and you have a place to stay for a really good price. So just think of it that way. And if there is something bothering you, it's good to communicate with the host, but it's just never good to complain about everything, because you're probably not going to make the host happy.
Number 5.
Number 5 on my list would be take stuff from the Airbnb. So you never want to take things from the Airbnb, because when you take stuff from the Airbnb, you're technically stealing things that the host has in there. It's just never okay. It's not yours to take. It's never okay to steal things from an Airbnb. If you see something you like, you can always buy it from a store. The same thing from a store. Don't just go and take things from someone else's Airbnb. Because they pay good money to get that stuff to make their Airbnb look nice. It's just never okay to do that.
Number 6.
Number 6 on my list would have to be break stuff. It's never okay to break stuff in an Airbnb, because the host spends a lot of money for all the stuff in the Airbnb. So it's just not a good idea to break anything, like whether it's a vase for decoration or if it's a lamp that the Airbnb guest has in there. So it's just not a good idea to break stuff in an Airbnb. If you break something in the Airbnb, then you're going to have to pay for it. And there are some stuff that is quite pricey to replace, and you may not be able to afford it. So please keep that in mind when you're staying in an Airbnb, to just be careful with anything that is fragile in the Airbnb.
Number 7.
Number 7 on my list would have to be ask to borrow stuff from the host and break it or not return it. That's not a good thing, because you're technically stealing from the host. And if you break something that you borrow from the host, it's never okay, because they probably can't replace it, or it's way too expensive for them to replace, and it's just not okay to break stuff or borrow stuff from the host and then break it. So if you borrow something from the host, make sure you remember to give it back to them when you're done. I understand people forget that they'll probably have them with them, but it's just always good to return things right when you're done, because it shows that you can be trusted with the Airbnb host stuff.
Number 8.
Number 8 on my list would have to be have an out-of-control party. So you never want to have an out-of-control party when you're staying in an Airbnb, because what if the Airbnb you're staying at is very small? It's just not a good idea to do that, because if you have a party, people can break stuff. You can make a mess in the Airbnb, and then you're going to have to clean it up. And it's just not really a very nice thing to have a out of control party, because what if the host is sleeping just in case the Airbnb is connected to the house? Or what if you're making so much noise that you disturb the neighbors of the host and the Airbnb you're staying at? So please be careful and don't have like an out of control party, because if you do that, things can get broken and you can get complaints.
Number 9.
Number 9 on my list would have to be not communicate with the host. So you never want to not communicate with the host, because that's not really a good thing. I mean, I understand you want your privacy and you may not want to talk, but if you ever need anything, but the host is trying to do everything they can to make your stay more comfortable. So, and I understand you may not want to bother the host just in case they're busy with their other job or something, but it's always important to communicate with the host, because the host is very nice. They want to make sure you're comfortable. They want to make sure you're happy with your stay. So it's just good to communicate with the host, because they want to know if you need anything, and it's just really polite manners. So just keep that in mind when you're staying in an Airbnb, and just always communicate with the host. It's never good to ignore the host. It's very rude.
Number 10.
Sorry, I get distracted by a text message. So anyway, number 10 on my list would have to be needy or picky. So you never want to be very needy when you're staying at an Airbnb, because it's not the host's job to tamper to your every need. I mean, it's good if you have questions about certain things, or if you need help with something, or need to know how to work the code machine or the Wi-Fi. It's okay to ask those questions. By the way, let me know if you guys want to see a top 10 questions that are good to ask an Airbnb host down in the comments below. So it's just never good to be needy or picky while you're staying in an Airbnb, because the host works really, really hard to keep you comfortable, and it's never good to be needy with the host, because it seems that you might be taking advantage of the host, and the host works super hard to make your stay very comfortable. But if you have questions, it's totally fine to ask that. But if you need the host for every little small thing, it's just not really a good idea, because it kind of like takes the host time away from what they're doing, and then they have to tamper to you every need and blah, 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 blah. Just if you have questions, it's okay to ask. Like, let's say you need to learn how to work the TV. The host can teach you how to work the TV. If you have questions about how to get on the Wi-Fi, or what's the Wi-Fi password, or what's the Wi-Fi connection, you can ask that. But just don't be needy for every small little thing. It just takes the host away from their time and what they're doing. So please keep that in mind when you're staying in an Airbnb. So those are my top 10 things you should never do when staying in an Airbnb. I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you so much for watching. Please just shoot a like and subscribe if you haven't already. I post every day except for Tuesday and Friday afternoon sometimes, and I'll see you in another video soon. Bye.